Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to yet another installment of our taking television and movie plots from our favorite and maybe not so favorite um, medium and take that into our tabletop role playing experiences for science fiction and all the above. So, today we're going to talk about a very famous movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Uh, More specifically, we're going to forget the other Total Recall movie that never existed with Colin Farrell. Total Recall, we're going to talk about We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, the novelette that it is based on. And uh, uh, the whole point of this is to take influences. Sometimes we're stuck with a creative idea, and what better way to pay homage to some of the greatest science fiction that's out there, or some of the greatest premises out there, but the horrible execution thereof. So we're gonna have some fun with this. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and we'll start out simple. First, let's give a rundown of the plot. All right. So before we get into our co-hosts who are here live, I really appreciate you guys being here because you help make the channel, you help make me look brilliant, and I appreciate that. So our plot is that we have a character in the not too distant future who is just a blue collar worker, and this individual is in the doldrums and decides that they want to go on vacation, but they don't have enough money or power or influence. So they find a business that will recall, and they go to this business, and this business says, "Hey, no matter what vacation you ever go on, guess what's the one thing that never changes? And that's you, because everywhere you go, there you are. You are always you. But for just a small nominal fee, cha-ching, we can remember it for you wholesale. You can be someone else on an adventure for your vacation. And this will just be a memory implanted in your head. You'll go back to work. You'll feel rejuvenated and amazed that you were away. And heck, here, take a look in the catalog. You could be a person who discovers aliens. You could be a secret agent. You could be a political mastermind. You could be all these amazing things. What would you like? And our main character goes, well, I mean, the secret agent uncovering alien life, alien artifacts on Mars, and joining an uprising and all that would be kind of cool. But something happens, and there's a glitch in the mechanism. Head feels blurry, has these strange memories, and the company goes, sorry, we'll refund you some of the money. Something went wrong. And then all hell breaks loose, and our character is it's a whole run and gun as our character runs for their life, realizes they have special skills, and invariably finds out that he gets a message from himself that yes, he really is a deep-seated agent. And from there, all of the actions that take place lead to this character clues, and we are given clues as to, is this entire endeavor all the way to the very end of the movie, is this real? Are the actions here happening? Is this character really a secret agent and just accidentally had his memories returned to him? Or is this all a dream? And some would say even till today that this character realizes that different people, when watching the movie, understand that the whole point of the ending of the movie being nebulous is the point of the movie. It's the point of the story. And that despite the fact that this might all be just a memory in his head, we're engaged in it just as much as our main character is, that our protagonist is. So, hello, hey, y'all, hello there, everyone. So, what do our co-hosts have to say about this? Is it real better than two? Yeah. It does make the question why asymmetry is so rare in nature. It's because the universe hates us and doesn't want us to have the three, so we rightly deserve. You guys are silly. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I'm with you, Drew. Yeah, what other Total Recall movie? There was only one ever made, ever. Shai says, yeah, did anybody else find Electric Sheep a trifle disappointing? I did. For those who don't, here in the States, Amazon Prime had the Electric Sheep. It was an anthology series, and it wasn't very good. It needed editors. Honestly, it needed because some of the storylines need to be cut down. You can pay us for controlled Dane Bramage. The mind is a terrible thing and must be stopped at all costs. Yeah, exactly, Drew. So, one of the very for those who don't know, they know. I gotta make a T-shirt, a Dane Bramage T-shirt. So, one of the great things about Total Recall is, and especially in science fiction, is something that we don't often add into our science fiction settings is the little small things, the little sprinkles of flavor in the background, and just having a place, non-mechanical, non-story focused, that just has a place that sells vacations, memory vacations, little micro sets of like VR, I guess, that's totally specified for you and who you are, and that's kind of an awesome little business to have, even if it's not the point of your giant space opera or your super hard sci-fi setting. Just having the ability to alleviate yourselves of the doldrums and go to one or more of these places is kind of cool. Yeah. Oh, you mean the actual book itself? See, and here again is where we have Shice is talking literally about the novelette, the book itself, and here's where we have like excellent premise, maybe terrible execution, and also we forget to realize that even though a lot of these things that came from books are classic, that the writing style of a lot of these books, Lord of the Rings, Dune, all of Philip K. Dick's writings, and so on and so forth, maybe sometimes the writing style rubs us the wrong way just through time and our own maturity, how our mindset changes throughout the years. Like maybe as a young kid, you're like, oh, this was great, and trying to read it today was like, ugh. Like I tried to begin rereading the Lord of the Rings books, and I just couldn't do it. I don't dislike them. My mindset, I just couldn't put my mind into that the tonality of how books are written and such. So you're all right. Drew says, I have not watched Electric Sheep yet. I put it on my watch list, but there was zero buzz about it, and so I never felt the urge to actually watch it. Right, there was no buzz about that one, and the one, the television show made by from the role-playing game made from the artists, Tales from the Loop. Yeah, that was another one that needed like some oomph to it. I can't explain it. I mean, the cinematography was great, but it had no peaks and valleys. It was just like zzz, yeah. Hey, you guys, Death Angel, and someone else who popped up in here, Jeff, Enferpod, I guess. Thank you very much for being here. So, first of all, just having a business that offers, cultivated memories for vacations is actually kind of cool. And to be honest with you, there's a little bit of a dark side to this as well, because while we don't delve in this in the Total Recall movie, apparently there are enough people who don't have enough money, who work, laborious jobs, that there's no place for them to go on vacations, and so the only vacations they can go to is to plug themselves into a machine and have those memories implanted in the first place. So that tells you a little bit about the culture of Earth and things like that. Like, is Earth slowly becoming a sludge-filled cesspool that smells of body odor and hopelessness, I would dare say yes. Similar to the director's cut of the movie Avatar, Avatar, blue people, alien, body replacement, right? Oh, we got to add that in here. Avatar. Sorry, taking sci-fi influences. So moving from there, we do have ourselves the idea of, since we have a machine and to the point where we have businesses that can affect the mind, we get into something that is very difficult to implement, but I think is undersold, and I'm embracing it fully with this Obsidian Star tabletop role-playing game, and that is player characters who have memories that aren't theirs, or they've had memories that were shut away. And our main character, while we're following our main character, we realize that at a certain point in the movie, our main character's attitude and personality isn't really the one he was born with. It's an edited version of this character. And the idea of players playing characters who outwardly feel that, oh, I know all of my history, I know my personality, I know what my focus is, and then come to find out that no, you're actually just an edited version of technically one of the big bads in this story, is actually kind of cool. Now, how you would have to decide how your players would feel if they found out that the memories of their own player character aren't real, that there's some kind of edit, something in their mind was blocked or removed or recontextualized or something. How would they feel about that? I don't know. And I think it's a storytelling trait that we could use that is undersold in science fiction, and for players to be able to relax when it comes to making those 8-page backstories and go, you know what, let's just get a couple of bullet points and embrace the idea that maybe your character didn't have a 13-year military career as being a badass with the black sabers. Maybe it was implanted within your brain through sleep teaching, and you've only had these memories for 6 months, or cut yourself too deep because that laser blast has hit you in the shoulder, and you realize you were never human at all, that you have mechanical parts under your body, and you're just a replacement for the real person who's actually trying to kill you and take you out. And I think having these kind of stories, a little bit of a gotcha, but not quite if you're willing to accept and trust that your game master, the Spiral, is able to make these storylines for you. I think that'd be kind of cool. Drew says, I like the writing style of Tolkien, but I cannot read Lord of the Rings again, since I think he really dropped the ball on how he framed the theme, since the moral's pretty much xenophobic. And that's another thing as well, in terms of reading books, is there many of them are based on a time period and a culture that as we move forward, we may not fall in line with. It's like my opinion about Lovecraft, right? Like, I can't read Lovecraftian horror simply because of the framework of the opinions of the writers of that era. Despite the fact that I don't mind it existing, it's just a personal preference. Like, yeah, I'm not reading that shit again. Yeah. Maybe in another 10 years I might change my mind, but as right now, yeah. Death Angel says, yeah, I'm a ham radio operator too, so my name and call sign is one of my personas. Oh, that's sweet. That's awesome. We talked about personas and avatars and how they aren't real, except the point that we start to reach into our avatars, and then the avatar itself can become more real than we are, which is a real thing, you know. Yeah, not much separation between ourselves and our avatars. Yeah, Shai says, this raises the question, is the set of memories a person has the actual person itself? Many people would say that your memories make you who you are. That if we were to edit your memories down, certain good or bad traumatic events, memories of hanging out with family and friends, different events that what writers, television, movie, script developers would call the inciting incident. The one thing that changed this aspect of your personality, and the one thing that changed this other aspect of your personality. And our memories make us who we are. If we were to implant memories of any type, we would change who we are. Like for me, I have it is not phobic, but I do have a fear of heights. And were I to have a memory implanted of me challenging my fear of heights, which may be a good thing, going to this recall place and having memories of me skydiving and paragliding and going on balloon rides, which I did, which scared the hell out of me, but I actually enjoyed it, and other death-defying aerial acrobatics, and those become my memories, then maybe the fake memory of challenging my fear becomes the real personality change, that I no longer have a fear of heights. And then that changes who I could have been had I never had my memories change. And that's just a small part. So yeah, implanting memories of maybe an individual committing murders. And also, a Dead Man can tell me about this in terms of relating it to eclipse phase and maybe even altered carbon. What is our emotional state related to the memory? Like, are we reliving the emotional state as well, or are we passive participants in our own memories? I would say that that if I went skydiving, I would definitely have an emotional response to that, even in a memory, since in the movie Total Recall, if we consider Total Recall to be an entire fabrication, our main character, Arnold Schwarzenegger, has all kinds of emotional responses. So yeah, I think that would absolutely change us. Drew says, nobody is the person they were born as. We all change. That is part of life. Exactly. And if we have the ability to implant memories, then we can literally change the person who they are. I imagine in this storyline, we understand in Total Recall that governments are not in control of this technology. But if a government could forcibly give people access to certain memories, they could absolutely control the population, because a politician or a political faction could very easily edit out all the bad stuff and add in all the good stuff to someone's brain. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Even Death Angel says, yeah, I'm not even the same person I was last year. And those are all from experiences. Memories are just our experiences given. Experience plus time gives us memories, right? Whether it's 5 seconds ago, 5 weeks, 5 years. So yeah, all of our experiences, and sometimes those experiences could be very minor. Maybe someone implants you bumping into someone that you find visually enticing, and then slowly those memories, you bump into this person, you see them often, eventually you start having conversations with this person, and now you have a relationship with this person, but it could all be fake. It could just be implanted. A very good way to instill a spy into a community very quickly, by having memories implanted of you having always lived with people. Yeah, Drew says memories are something we edit every time we engage with them. There is a movie with Robin Williams. I can't remember the name of it. I know you guys will probably know it. Robin Williams plays someone who edits the memories of someone who has passed, and then plays those memories back during their eulogy. And there's a small part in the movie that Robin Williams, is it a Final Cut, I think is the name of it, if I'm not mistaken. And someone is mad, and they're like, they're at a eulogy, and one person is a little bit drunk, says, that boat wasn't green, it was blue. I don't remember it being green. Why does he remember it being green? It was always blue. You did something wrong. And Robin Williams couldn't explain to the guy, like, it doesn't matter. It was that person's memory. You remember it being blue, they remember it being green. So yeah. The shitlord says, so Korsakoff syndrome would make you disappear. Awesome. I don't know what that is. Events shape your perspective, so adding or removing anything would change who you are. Yeah. It, making this a little bit more proactive for the player characters, maybe they need to change their memories to become who they are in order to engage in a mission. Our main character, Quaid, Arnold Schwarzenegger, is an undercover agent in the movie, and his evil self has edited away the mission, uh, the mission itself, to enable him to become an innocent that gets pulled into this greater mission. Now, how the circumstances end up getting him put into this position, it's a little bit far-fetched, right? I'm going to erase this entire evil plot out of my brain, and by golly, I hope that I end up getting, meeting up with some mutant rebel force on Mars. Like, that's kind of weird. But if these are fake memories, then he really is a special agent, which is funny because if the entire part of him being a deep agent in this memory vacation, literally he goes to the recall center, and then within the vacation he has a memory edit of his own self within the vacation. So it's a memory of a memory that was removed that he then ends up recalling, which is really weird because if you think about it, he sits down in the chair and they implant the memory of him being the bad guy and then edits that memory then back out of his head to engage in it. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Shai says, I have a fear of low railings. They make me want to piss my pants. And yes, I have done a balloon ride and roller coasters to try to overcome my fear with middling success. I'm the same way. I do not like roller coasters. You know what it is about roller coasters? I don't like the anticipation of a roller coaster. If I'm already on it, it's fine. Like those magnetic or hydraulically launched roller coasters, I'm fine with. But I do not like the anticipation. I don't like standing in line. I don't like strapping in. I don't like hearing them go, hey, hands and feet inside, enjoy the ride, with a 16-year-old hitting the button. Like, I don't like any of that stuff. I don't like the chain pull up to the top. Can't stand it. Hey, Zamara0292 says, reaching out through busy exhaustion. Happy day that doesn't exist. That is all. Keep well, fellow co-host and DBJ, our illustrious, intelligent, and irresistibly handsome main host. I don't know about all that last part, but I will make a t-shirt and wear it. Thanks, Z. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Death Angel's Shadow says, I stood on the edge of the south rim of the Grand Canyon. I want to do that so bad. And looked down 800 feet without fear, and then had a ladder collapse when putting up Christmas lights. And suddenly my knees shake at 10 feet up. You know what? There is a little bit of that too, right? Like sometimes it's a time and place, right? Because you decided to go to the Grand Canyon, which, by the way, there's a place in the Grand Canyon that has a clear, what do you call it? Walking ring or something that I want to walk on one of these days. But yeah, I mean, just amazing. And to think the Grand Canyon is just a tiny little sliver into the earth compared to deep crevices on Mars. It's crazy. Yeah, I love it. Just Angel says, what dreams may come as a movie that we might pull from? Maybe. Oh, the name of the movie? No, it's not What Dreams May Come, although that movie is brilliant. That's one of my favorite. What Dreams May Come. Just as a side note, you guys, there's music in the background. Tell me if you can hear it or it's too loud, like one or the other. Just putting some ambient sounds in the background, just because my voice, sometimes when I take pregnant pauses, there may be some audio in the background. Yeah, Shai says it's railings that don't even come up to your waist that bother me the most. Yeah. What I don't like are those semi-spiral staircases in very tall office buildings with the very short railings. I don't like that at all, because I'm like, I don't want to stand nearby someone who accidentally spills their coffee on me and makes me, lean to the side or something like that. Yeah, chasms and lighthouses and things. Yep, absolutely. Standing at the upper railings of a lighthouse. we have a couple lighthouse, well, many lighthouses here in the states, and if you're out in on Putin Bay, yeah, there's a Perry's Cave and a lighthouse up there. You guys talked about your anxieties with heights. It says the ambient music is just about right. Yeah, because it's very low in my ears. I have my head. Sometimes I don't wear my headphones, and I like to every once in a while so I can hear my own audio back at me. There's a little bit of uh, uh, a hesitation in the audio, but I like to hear it so that to try to hear what you guys are hearing, and I don't hear the ambient music. Drew says, I have no trouble with heights or low railings. I have social anxiety and trust issues. Okay. Thus my concern would be more about other people who could push me over the edge. That's my concern. The walking up the stairs next to the very low railing and the person spills their coffee on me, and I react in a non-optimal way manner, right? Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Drew says, I noticed you put audio in the background. I think it's fine, even though I prefer not having it. Okay. Okay. Thanks, N King. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm horrible at the calls to action. The thumbs up, people. Come on. I don't do that. I don't know why. Please like, share, and subscribe. Calls to action. So, yeah, can you have social anxiety over who built the rails? Right. Like, you could have added 3 more inches to this and make me feel better. Oh, man. All right. So, other aspects of using Total Recall in our tabletop role-playing experiences is the idea that you're so bad there, shitlords. So, of course, we are assuming in this not too distant future that in Total Recall, we have, well, a way to get from Earth to Mars. So while we fudge over the fact that we have like automated automobiles and we have a way to get to Mars, that there is in the background this idea that there are alien mechanisms or artifacts that were found on Mars. And are they really alien? Are they left over from a distant alien species, or is this just a rumor? Are there ancient aliens that once lived on Mars and then have gone away? And also the political ramifications of the economic threat of the people who are the lower class individuals who live on Mars, and air is being used as a commodity in the various habitats. And yes, it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger action flick, but there are a lot of things that we can steal from this movie. I mean, simply having a habitat where you buy, sell, and trade air amongst communities, and that purification of the air systems and the filtration system can literally be used as a weapon against the people who live there in the lower class sections, is by itself could literally be a really good movie. We even saw this in the first season of The Expanse, where our main character is a burnout police officer and detective, and has been looking the other way with bribes because someone in a position of some community leader in position of power doesn't really feel like changing the air filters until our burnout cop starts having a change of heart and sees children coughing and having lung issues because the air filters aren't changed. And even that part of it is a really cool background setting, especially if the player characters are in a place. Who controls the power here? Is it a criminal organization? Is it a corporation? And our main character, our protagonist, his original memories are working with the people who are using the air filtration system against the population that is here. So yeah. Death Angel says, yeah, I think it's a personal preference. I don't mind the ambient music, but I hate dead air. Yeah, the whole radio thing probably has something to do with that. Those of us that listen long before podcasting and YouTubing and such, there was the airwaves, the radio waves, and everyone knows you're not supposed to have dead air in an audio only format. And a lot of people listen to, even if they have YouTube, many people listen to it, especially long form, like a long form format. So, yeah. Shitlord says his helmet getting cracked on the Mars would be a nice part to steal. Yeah, I use the with the eyes bugging out and the tongue coming out. That great great practical effects, even though me thinking his eyes and tongue poked out a little bit too far for him to go back to normal, but it was pretty interesting. I mean, you got to see the tendon, his eyes were literally outside of his head. Also, just getting that scene was pretty good. It was really good. Definitely got to steal that part as well. I mean, there are a lot of little things to steal from it. In Total Recall, the idea of the mutants themselves. We forget that there was a psychic part that was part of the movie, right? Like there's a whole underground of individuals, and dare we say from yesterday, the 3 female mammary glands that were sticking. Although I suppose today, if we want to be fair, there might be dare I say, a non-monolithic male genitalia as well, maybe put into the movie or something. Or actually, we don't know if the lady that had the three-chested lady had any, what her lower genitalia were like anyway. So I don't know. Yeah, Death Angel said they went a little overboard with the claymation. I think they went perfectly overboard with the claymation. The movie was a little bit, it had some ridiculous parts in it, like that I love, like when Arnie has to sneak into Mars, and of course he's a secret agent, and he wears the ladies. He's such a big guy, so he has to wear garb to cover himself, so he appears as a larger boned lady. And unfortunately, there's a glitch in the system over his head. Mind you, it was a little bit like far too mechanical. It would have been better if it was more Mission Impossible, like a bio face that was put over his face. But it was kind of cool where the mechanism starts to glitch, and he's like, yeah, 2 weeks, and all of a sudden he's and moves away from his head. It's pretty amazing effects, knowing that CGI really hadn't reached a status that we could really trust it in the movies. So yeah, yes, non-monolithic genitalia. Yeah, like I said, I don't use ambient music in the background. I don't use that in roleplay either. That surprises me a little bit, because mood can be altered through ambient music, and I'm really surprised at you there, Drew. I'm a little surprised. Drew says, like in audio plays, not audio books. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their preference, but yes, I'm surprised, because I've movie, not soundtracks, movie scores were a big deal for me. I remember buying movie scores and using them in the backgrounds of during role-playing sessions. Although if they're too recognizable, it can be disconcerting. So finding them from movies that are not normally associated with science fiction or fantasy. Like, what's one of my favorites is for fantasy is the sound, the score to a religious movie. Mel Gibson directed it. It's back in the 90s, 2000s, something like that. Drew says, for me, music and role play is better only used as intermission between scenes. I used heavy music for my vampire games when I was doing like the White Wolf Vampire Mage era. Used a lot of music for that too. Music and ambient noises, like big cities, so we have like honking horns and ambulances and things like that, crowds and such. things like that. Passion of the Christ, torture crime. Yes, Passion of the Christ. Excellent score, not soundtrack, but score for fantasy. Does it? No opinions on the movie. We're not talking about that. I wish we had better. There are many places that do ambient sounds. There's a lot of apps. One of the first that I remember was a place called Sirenscape, where you could. They had blocks of standard ambient noises and music, and then like battlefields or demon casting and things like that, whatever, spell casting and such, and then you could use sliders to affect it. Other things about the Total Recall movie as well that are actually kind of cool are the idea of the underground itself, that not only are there people who are the underground, the lower class, the so-called criminalized individuals, but we have ourselves the many layered city and the people that live in the underground, and then we have like mining and drilling, and we have ourselves trains that are moving around Mars to different parts of the habitats and things like that. So we do have a dynamic map paintings of Mars that are in Total Recall that are pretty interesting. So moving from place to place, you can have different kinds of social status and interactions and economic power on Mars that is emblematic of it. But in addition to that, we have ourselves mutants, and how those mutants came to be, especially in your setting, could come from different things. If it's hard science fiction, maybe it's just from radiation, and the mutants that live are the rare ones because many people die from the mutations from the background radiation and maybe even solar winds and things of that nature that start affecting people's DNA. And maybe sickness and illness is something that's also affecting the population, and that the haves aren't as protected from background radiation as we would like to think, or there's medicines that help alleviate the growing cancers and mutations in our DNA, but these people can't afford it, or it's being held back from them. Maybe there's some kind of artificial scarcity by the corporations or criminal organizations or political factions from these individuals, but those same mutations are giving them other abilities. One of our NPCs that becomes a turncoat, you see that he's got like an artificial arm, and then he's got this other limb arm to it, kind of insectoid, mantis-like. One of the leaders of the organization is his own twin. When he opens up his shirt and you realize that there's another, it looks like an unborn baby is in his chest, but is actually a whole nother personality with psychic abilities and such, and so many other people that have these mutations. And that may be a thing that you may want to include in terms of like, how do people relate to the mutants? Our own ability to adapt to horrible situations means that the mutations may not be something people want to get rid of. But if you have a child that's born with a mutation and you have mutations, you are embraced by this small lower class community to be part of them, and they understand your mutations, and maybe even we start to find attraction to people with certain mutations, and garnering some kind of like extra special or extra sensory abilities because of a lack of something. Someone born with no eyes has the ability to sense electromagnetic energies and things like that. Drew says, I'm a word purist, and the best tool to create atmosphere is a proper description with words. I'm with you on that. You guys can tell from the way I talk, I often repeat the same things using different words. It's unconscious. I try to stop myself from doing that because I can actually make 5 to 10 minutes shorter videos if I didn't do that. But there's a wordsmith in me that tries to find the proper nomenclature to describe a specific thing. And if it wasn't for me sitting down, paging through dictionaries and thesauruses, I wouldn't be this way. Shai says, wouldn't a real life mutation from radiation be more likely to be some big tumor growing out of your face? Yeah, or some weird place? I would say yeah. As a matter of fact, maybe on this in Mars, or maybe your Mars, the death rate's probably through radiation mutation is probably up in the upper 90 percentile. But those that live, maybe they are given a seat of honor of some sort, like you're special for who you are, or it's a life well lived. So those who know that they're going to suffer from mutation they are placed in higher levels of authority, knowing that they will be there for a short amount of times. So they get done things. People that are concerned with their long life tend to be protective of their life, and yet those who have a shorter lifespan may be perceived as being more risk taking than risk averse. And so maybe there's a cultural way for those who begin having these mutations, that they get put into positions of power to basically get shit done that other people won't do because they're trying to protect themselves and their families. Drew says, I feel like people who rely on music or pictures are then lacking the vocabulary to express their ideas in words. I don't know if I'd be that judgmental, but I get what you're saying. There's an organizational program called Obsidian that I've been playing with, not Obsidian Star. It's literally just called Obsidian. There's a purple diamond-like stone used as its symbol, and in it they have the ability to create visual diagrams to encourage your writing process. So a lot of people use Obsidian in novel writing, and sometimes you want to be encouraged by using pictures and things. So I love visuals because what they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but I don't rely on that, and that's just because of my personality. But I can see people, unfortunately, like in Hollywood, sometimes you're like, they only filmed this scene because they thought this picture would look good, not because the writing was great, right? There are some directors that it feels like all they really wanted to do was film a scene so you could capture it as like wallpaper or something. Death Angel says, that's fair. I mean, what would Star Wars, Indiana Jones, or E.T. be without the John Williams soundtrack? Yep. I grew up on John Williams music and those soundtracks and stuff, right? Yeah. I grew up on to the point where you only need to play a couple of maybe 3 to 5 notes and you get what it is. Harry, thank you very much for the coffee. I really appreciate that. And thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. You always show up like that. I appreciate you bringing me coffee, and you're one of the only people who's older than this old grognard himself. Of course, we are talking science fiction and Total Recall, and what we can borrow, take as an homage to layer in our own tabletop role-playing experiences. And so that's what we're talking about. Anon, as in Anonymous, says there's actually a licensed Total Recall book for the Everyday Heroes RPG, which might be worth checking out. I didn't know that because I didn't realize it was licensed out. But that's awesome. Yeah. Shai says, dude, it's hard to avoid repeating yourself and going on tangents unless you write a script. Yeah. And then everyone can tell you're reading off a page, and that's actually lamer than repeating yourself. Yeah, I used to try to make videos where I wrote out the script and read it, and I was just like, I can't even do it. Now I can read things in a literary manner. Like I can read it with inflection and purpose and emotion, but I would feel that if I read it, it would sound like an actor reading a script, not something natural that I do with these podcasts. Yeah, those soundtracks can immediately bring up the visual recollections of scenes. Yeah, heck, we could hum a couple of notes and you'll know exactly what it is. I'm not going to do it here, YouTube, but you get the point, right? You get a couple of notes and something, and it makes you remember it. Now, the at the very end of Total Recall, we have ourselves with our main character. He's got the femme fatales, that, you know, the beautiful women that have surrounded him, that are helping him. That one of them helping him out, the other one was undercover and such. But, you know, we have our character who survives because the activated technologies of the ancient aliens actually brings oxygen, terraforming. Breathing wise, terraforming the surface of Mars, bringing actual breathable oxygen to Mars, and letting the people, basically completely destroying the power that the evil corporation slash criminal organization slash political faction had over the people living under the thumb of this governing system, using the value of the money and being able to breathe. And if you can't pay your taxes, you can't breathe here. Drew says, yeah, reading scripts. The Alexandrian made yesterday a video about boxed text. Yeah, some people hate the boxed text. I liked reading out the boxed text. Ooh. Voiceover, script video, reading off a page on camera is fake. AF, and rambling off on an important subject ain't so great either. Yeah. So sometimes I've listened to like hour and a half dissertations that could have been maybe 15 minutes. Listen, Harry, there's only one Total Recall movie. I don't know if you know that. Colin Farrell, I don't know what movie that was, but it wasn't Total Recall. Yeah, there was only one. Yeah. Pay them to implant the memory so you don't forget your very important script. Exactly. It becomes normal. You know what? That would be a great way to... Actors could memorize a script and then be paid to erase them memorizing the script, but they have the script memorized anyway. So the script becomes natural. And then they come to realize that the script in their head isn't really them. It's actually a memory of them memorizing the script. Although I wonder if you edit away the memory of reading a script and memorizing it, would you still retain the memory of the script in the first place? Which would be very odd. It would be very odd to have a memory of a thing, but not have the memory of the thing, if that makes sense. Like, you remember how to, you remember how to scuba dive, but you don't remember ever learning how to scuba dive. That would be very strange, that you would just it would be the Jason Bourne of whatever thing that you're doing. Like, I don't remember ever writing novels, but I remember all the words written down in the novels that I wrote. And people could question you, like, did you write this? Like, yeah, I think. Total Recall also gives us, because we got to the very end, the gotcha moment is, now within the movie, let's talk about the movie, not necessarily the premise, but in the movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, a gentleman is talking to him and says, this is all fake. This is all a memory. And he starts to sweat. And then Arnie Quaid shoots him and goes, oh, I know you're lying. I am really this person, and this is a real evil plot, and I am not in my own memory. But was that part of the memory in the first place as being a secret agent? Because at the very end of the movie, we have our character standing on the surface of Mars where there's breathable oxygen, and he gets to make out with the femme fatale and with the Martian, well, it would be the rising or setting sun in the background, standing in, I don't know, the Tharsis fields, or, you know, standing next to Mount Olympus Mons or something with the sun in the background. And it's like, yeah, yes, I agree with you, Shice. And so is that the point at which our player characters start to wake up? Is that the point at which all of a sudden we go and we do the classic rewinding the tape, and they wake up from the chair and this was all a dream? I, as a player, would be a little bit miffed, although this could be part of a plot in which all of this happens in the mindscape of the players in a VR, memory implant, whatever. And then the players then go to the real Mars, or they're contacted by real agents who don't know the players received this information. And that could lead to other stories, which also makes a good idea to, let's say, we'll talk about this during one of our episodes, but we make too many excuses for not playing these role-playing games when people can't show up. And I want to give off, and I've done this before with fantasy specifically, but science fiction gives us some really great tools within the narrative to account for players being there and not being there, for having side quests, adventures, like a mindscape, like a VR, like memory implants, to come back to the main story and only moments have passed. Because technically, if Arnold Schwarzenegger wakes up from his we can remember it for you wholesale recall thing, he's only there for, let's give it half an hour, and he's learned and gone on an entire adventure, and then gets to rejoin the main plot where he wakes up, right? Yeah, memory of a thing. Yeah, I was, yes, exactly. Like, how would our minds react, or would we be driven a little bit insane? I.e., there's rules for that in Obsidian Stark, because you can have a piece of yourself marked off as having forgotten it, or you could even suffer some baggage for it from having a memory with too much dissonance. So you may remember a thing, but you may not remember remembering a thing. Yeah, and I liked Dollhouse. That's another one we're going to have to put down. Dollhouse, because there was Gamer, and then there was Dollhouse, which was the television show of being able to rent out people's bodies. Altered Carbon did that too. We'll put Altered Carbon on the list to steal from. So, I mean, also, this could very well be something that the players absolutely positively wanted to be part of. Like, it would. Here's a strange plot for a TTRPG game, right? So the players make their characters. Then, as the game master, you tell them that your memories are faked. And then at the end of the plot, you make the big bad guys the actual player characters themselves. And then you reveal, guess what? As the plot of the game that you don't even remember doing, you guys set this all up so that you would eventually regain your memories, but you could never go undercover unless you had forgotten the fact that you set up this plot in the first place. And then, oh, by the way, you take out the other bad guys and you realize this, you delete, murder, kill your own selves who are the bad guys to be these new people who have these new personalities, even though you're actually edited versions of your true selves, even though you never made up your own true selves. I made them up as the game master. Yeah, in Obsidian Star, what kind of machine do you hook up the absent players to? Maybe they are they're making a backup of themselves. Maybe they are undergoing one of the under the vitality aspects of maintaining your homeostasis, right? In the game, it's not just about eating. You're not keeping track of resources like food and water. You also have to keep track of. Those are not the only resources you're keeping track of. In total, you're keeping track of muscle atrophy, isolation syndromes, body dysmorphia, the other list, radiation treatments, calcium treatments. All of these things are listed under your VNs, your vitality ends, your your vital mechanisms to survive in space. And so it very well, a player character might be, hey, I can't go on this mission. I got to go through nutrient baths to get rid of the cancers that I've gotten from the radiation. I've been ionized, irradiated, diseased, mutated, calcium deficiencies. I need to strengthen the muscle in my heart. I am, psychologically, I am suffering certain kinds of harms. And so those are good reasons for players not being there temporarily. And maybe they're on ice. Maybe they're in a stasis thing and remotely operating a jacket somewhere else or something. Or from a prior game, a player character was murder killed, and the PCs grabbed their zipper from the back of their head, and they took the zip. They took that zip drive, it took the zipper back, and they're like, "Oh, we're regrowing your body. You can't be in this next game, but because work or whatever, real life, IRL." And then they come back the next game, and their body's fully grown. Shitlord says, "Is losing memories also a form of baggage?" There are two types of losses in Obsidian Star. So every time you write down a trait on your character, that's considered 1 point. So you write down Criminal Underworld on your character. So you now have the trait of Criminal Underworld, and that counts as 1 point. And if you lose a point, it's called a loss. That loss could be physical, you got shot in the shoulder. It could be mental, you lost memories. It could be social, you lost some form of influence socially or something. It could be debt, you lost money, whatever the case may be, and you temporarily mark that off your character sheet. You have you cannot reference it. Why? In the narrative, you get to describe why you no longer have access to Criminal Underworld. Is it because you forgot? Is it because of a reputation and the Criminal Underworld doesn't trust you any longer? Is it because you're being there's an APB out for you by the local police or authorities, and temporarily the Criminal Underworld doesn't want anything to do with you because you're being hunted? Like, it depends on the narrative. Drew says, "Well, that is why," and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, "non je ne regret." Rien plays at the end of Inception, since like it always played when it was time to awake from a dream, so it is time to wake from the movie as a whole. There is, not familiar with the title of that song, but if you're saying that's the song title that played at the end of Inception, Inception uses musical cues within the setting of a Inception that everyone, once they start hearing that music, that classical music, which I believe that's the title that you posted up there, they know it's time to wake up, that classical music. I think that'd be kind of cool to add in amongst you and your friends, some type of like soundtrack or favorite song or whatever. And it is a in-world social or economic or emotional shift to another part of your game, right? So when this music is heard, whether it's played on a television or like Tridio screen, whether it is a distant memory in the back of a character's head, whether a small child is walking by with an old classic radio playing it, or it's played in the lobby of a 200-story office building and the players are like, "Ooh, this is a trap," right? And you could use that as a cue. I like the idea of doing that there, Drew, even though maybe that's not what you meant, but I like that. Harry brings up the TV series Dark Matter, which I haven't seen, but I haven't seen all of it, but I do remember the characters wake up having lost their memories, and the show does this flashback system where you flash back to who they were, and we as the audience know their background, but the characters are slowly uncovering their background, and the tension is created because Shakespeare kind of does this, where we as the audience know something's going on, the characters don't know, and the tension is not really amongst just the characters being portrayed, but amongst us, because we know that the tension is being pulled when one character, say a law enforcer, finds out that one of their allies is a notorious criminal, but neither of them knows the background of the other or even can remember their own backgrounds. And I believe that was one part in the story, in the show. Maybe I might put Dark Matter in here. You see, Dark Matter. I'm not going to... Anyway, each story we experience in role-play games are just dreams. it would be pretty hilarious that someone begins editing out the minds of role players, that they really are in a dream realm, but someone actually edits out the fact that all those games are real, and all we do is remember them as role playing experiences. Yeah, you could suck their souls out like that thing in Princess Bride. What? Oh, the machine. Yeah, yes, yes. Kind of. I don't know. I want to say made out of coconuts. It wasn't made out of coconuts, but it was kind of like that. Yeah. Drew says, I would say losing memory is not baggage, since it alleviates you from your past and not drags you down. So, sorry, two methods of loss. So one is just marking off a trait temporarily. Baggage is another level of loss. So not only could it mark off a trait, it is replaced by something else that is negative to you. So, and baggage doesn't necessarily mean it's negative. It means it's negative to you. So a player character could be blind, but for your player character, blindness may be baggage, but for the other player character, it isn't. Oh, shit. You force them to play with somebody else's memories in the next session they actually show up to. Yeah. You could also have like a bunch of like random characters that people pick up, and you're like, oh, I'm going to play this new character. And you don't even have to force them to role play the same personality, because maybe their memories were edited. So you could have like, let me just give me a random NPC and I'll play that character. Yep. Oh, you guys talk about ambient music. Yeah. Yeah, losing memory of the crimes you committed after you left the bar last night is most certainly baggage. Yeah, you might be hunted. Hey, you don't have to remember the crime. Maybe the package is being hunted. Harry says a forever shadow on the wall. Thank you very much for being here. Yeah, something from Looney Tunes. Death Angel says, I enjoy Dark Matter. Wish it would have lasted longer. Okay, then that's a thumbs up for me. Maybe I'll check that out. Train your players to never trust Michael McDonald again. Come on, everybody, sing it. Come on, Yama be there. Did I commit a crime if I did not remember it? Can I hold responsible for something that is not part of my identity? I am going to add that into the bottom of, let's do that right now. Let's see. Let's go to this, let's go to this document and add this to the thing. By the way, for those who don't know, Deadman and you guys as well who have access to this link, let me go here, who have access to this link, you can add notes to this document as part of the game, and I've been clearing up some of the edits. Now there's lots of edits, don't get me wrong, there's lots of edits in this, so like it's not perfect, but this is so these little red bars are questions about, not necessarily part of the game, but they are hard-hitting questions that you can ask yourself and your players and your friends and family or whatever, about post-humanism. And so at the end of each of these pages, actually maybe if I show you full page, you'll see that what the heck, there we go, you'll see that there we go. Why isn't it moving? You'll see that there are these red blocks here. Rolling the dice. I renamed the system the art and science system. It's no longer the singularity system. And I wrote a little first passing. This is going to need editing, but the art and science of rolling the dice. The art is that there will be a dark die and a light die, basically an obsidian die and a star die. And whichever has the highest roll means there's an upturn or a downturn. a good thing or a bad thing, and that's the art. That's the art of narrative. And then the science is like what number you rolled and how that affects the game. So, but we're gonna go down here, creating conundrums, loss and damage types, loss and damage matrix. This needs to be really redone. So use a lot of those. So I am going to put this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add a new page. Going to add a new page. I'm going to take this, copy it, duplicate it, and we're going to drag it down here. And boom, 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 boom. I know it looks a little bit odd, but you'll get why it is that I'm doing this. I have it right below. We're going to expand the size of this so we can actually read it. And boom, come on. There we go. Let's get rid of all this. Delete. What did you say there, Drew? Oh, did I commit a crime if I did not remember it? Can I hold responsible to something that is not part of my identity? And that's actually kind of an interesting thing, because our main character in Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger, is the protagonist, but he was actually responsible for causing a lot of the harm and death involved in the mission in the movie in the first place. But we don't make him responsible for it, right? The only reason he's a good guy is because he deleted his own memories. It wasn't, now as his actions are portrayed in the movie, he does good things, but you know, Death Angel says, I believe that was actually part of the premise for at least one character in the Dark Matter. Babylon 5 had an episode dealing with that, but I don't remember the name. Yeah, and talking about, you know, if you don't remember it, can you be held responsible for it? Some people would actually feel self-responsible, meaning they would have guilt about it. So here we go. Let's write this down. Let's see. If you cannot remember a crime, should you feel or suffer responsibility for said crime? That's horrible way I did that. I want to add. I want to expand upon it a little bit. Can I hold responsible something that is? Let's see. Am I responsible for events that are not part of my identity? I don't know if I spelled any of this correctly. And I guess a third part of that would be, you also wouldn't remember, you know, how would I say this? So I'm trying to get the words in my head. Depending on who it is that edited out the memory of you committing that crime, are they then responsible for that? Like, would it be yourself? For example, at the end of Total Recall, is it okay for us to arrest Arnold Schwarzenegger for doing what he's done? Right? Because he technically caused a lot of that. He was part of the mission. I don't remember if he was a mercenary and was hired, or he was an ally of the criminal organization that was holding all these people, oppressing all these people. Now, mind you, at the end of the movie, he does solve it, right? Like, he does, you know, release these people from having to be forced under this totalitarian regime, but he actually caused part of it. The only difference is that we know him from the point at which he was already had an edited personality. We don't know him from his history. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, can they implant a memory of your own last memories before death so you can wake up and answer all the questions about the meaning of life? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Can one feel guilty for something they have no memory of doing? That's another thing, too. Now, I think the answer to that could be yes. I think there's some people who are like, uh, an example would be, hey, they went on a drunken spree. I suppose drinking and driving would be incorporated in that. I don't remember what I did, but I know I'm responsible for it. Um, so I don't. But since we're talking very high technology, literally you could never remember something that's possible to be edited out of your brain. But there are people who are very empathic and they would feel guilty about it. I see not how I can make any notes on the document there. It tells me view only, but I am fine with giving you suggestions here on the Discord. Are you sure? I have it as anyone with the link can comment. It's listed on there. So let me see if I can show this to you. Um, so at the upper corner of each page, let's see if I can zoom in on this thing. I'm going to do a hyper zoom. There we go. Hyper zoom over and up. And there it is. This little thing here, you can click that and add a comment. And then I can respond with like an emoji or add a sticker or mention someone. And if you add a comment, so let's put some of this in here. If you add a comment into it, well, yeah, you can't see because I'm adding my own comment. If you add a comment in here, something will pop up that I can click it to say, hey, I did an edit on it and I finished it, right? So anyway, that's, yes. So it should appear at the very corner and that kind of. So I'm gonna increase the size of this and move down, and I'm gonna say, can we hold the editor of the memories as responsible as well? Okay, that fits. It kind of fits in there. Each of these, by the way, on each of these pages, there are certain questions and things. One of them is actually just a statement. So I'm going to move up to this page right here. Like this one says, state surveillance is observation by an authority. Self-surveillance is the recording of activity by the public. Covalence is watching the watchers. Ubiquivalence is observation at all times everywhere. Counter-surveillance takes measures against being surveilled. It's not really a question, but it's to put into people's heads, like, what when you say Big Brother is watching, like, do you mean like state surveillance, or do you mean like everyone is walking around with a device that records everything? Is that technically observation by Big Brother, or is that observation by other people? But maybe it is that way if they are also agents of said thing, et cetera, et cetera. So here I'm working on a loss and damage matrix. The loss and damage matrix is like whether you're in combat or social, or you're using a weapon, whether you're using skills and things like that. How many technical points subtract from the conundrum to solve the problem? So whether you're unskilled in a thing, or you're using light, medium, heavy weapons, or your skill potential goes up. So you go from brawling to being a martial expert, master, or a martial ascendant. That's how much damage you do or loss you can create. And then here, of course, depending on which die is successful, if you're using basic, if you really don't have a skill in a thing very much, or it's a small concealed weapon, it only does 1 or 2 points. Again, moving up with a light potential, you use the lowest die. Medium, you use the highest die, and heavy, you use both dice. And it's a 2d12 system. So, and the dice rolled, if you're successful, this is what you use. But also remember, when you roll the dice, since it's player facing, failed die rolls count against yourself when you roll them, and you get to decide how much I guess you could say, how much threat you want to present to yourself, and that's why there's a force flex fulcrum. You get to decide, you know, listen, if you put yourself in a lot of danger, you may be unfortunately the recipient of your own highest die roll against yourself. Whereas if you want to be very careful and methodical about your thing, the highest die you roll doesn't matter. You might only suffer 1 or 2 points if both dice fail. So players get to decide. You get to decide that in the game. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for allowing me to show this to you. Just talking about different things, conundrums. I may change characters being. Let's see if I can increase the size of this. I may change characters being called stars because I'm also using the word star in something else. I might end up calling it light and darkness. I'm not really sure. So just be aware. This is a organic document here. So yeah. Nitrous oxide. Douglas Adams in the universe of Obsidian Star? Maybe. Death Angel says, this could be akin to someone with Alzheimer's or dementia having committed a crime in the past that they have no recollection of. Imagine a World War II German soldier that is in their 90s. Yeah. It's an interesting quandary. And although, we do have legal precedents, right? There is no those who commit murder. There's no like 7-year thing. You're always responsible for murders you commit, whether you remember them or not. Nope, it does not for me, and you see that I am there since my icon appears on your screen. Exactly. So I'm not sure why it's doing that. Okay, let's change from can view, and then let's change it back. Can comment. Let me copy the link and reinsert it. Maybe it times out. I don't know. Boom. So, all right. Okay. Sorry. Well, I can see that, but if you have no idea that you've committed atrocities, I don't know. The fleeting memory of this episode has been immortalized till the end of YouTube. Exactly. Now, I think this also brings up the fact that okay. Let's make this another question for you guys. Here's some homework. So, someone has committed atrocities, but they do not remember. Now, we also bring up, with technology, we bring up another point. How were those memories deleted from what you remember? Was this a natural part of aging? Did an outside agent you have no control over come in and edit those memories out of your brain? Did you do this as a black ops agent? Is this the end result of the mission? You go on a mission, commit an atrocity, and part of it was being paid that someone would edit your memories without your knowledge. Maybe an agency that hired you did this to you so that you could never tell on yourself, but you were arrested anyway and captured, and they want to know who it is, and this person deleted those memories so that they would not get caught. Which also brings up the point that maybe some faction hires you, even though you're the bad guy technically, to go after those who decided to edit out the memories because you were hired by an even higher level bad guy. So, yeah. Yeah, Death Angel says, except if a murderer is mentally incapable of realizing what they did, legally it could be questionable. Well, even so, people with mental afflictions are still responsible for their actions. Just because they don't remember, if they have a mental affliction that caused the action, the physical action, like let's say someone is physically violent, but they don't remember being physically violent, you're still responsible for being physically violent. But I could see them being charged or handled differently. I don't know. Ooh, what if the law required you to reinstall the memories before conviction? And what if the person is innocent? Getting someone someone else's murder, someone else is the murderer, and they get those memories implanted in you. Ow, that hurts. Although that's a good plot to now you have the memories of this other person, and you're like, not only am I traumatized for committing a thing I didn't do, I'm gonna hunt you down for doing the thing that you did do. Drew says, okay, thanks. Now I can comment there. So maybe it times out. Maybe that's the possibility that it times out. So yeah. All right, guys, we're going a bit late here. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me as well. We're going to talk about so many other good premise, maybe terrible execution things, and just do this in general for science fiction. Of course, we'll always come back to Obsidian Star, but I'd like to make this channel available for science fiction tabletop role players out there in the wilds. And if you know some fans or people who are interested in science fiction, have them stop by and join in. Death Angel says, mind you, I'm not advocating for any position, just pointing out that from one perspective, they would be suffering punishment they could not comprehend the reasons for. Yeah, you're right. No, you're fine, Drew. You don't have to explain yourself. And I love your position there, Shadow, that someone could literally be suffering punishment for something they really never remembered. And maybe that makes the population feel good, but that person is literally being tortured for suffering a thing that they are innocent in their own mind, right? They're innocent. Again, you guys, read through it. This requires a lot of editing. I've done a lot of cut and pasting. There's going to be rules changes. There is what do you call gaming statistic changes, meaning like words that I'm using, like is damage versus loss, things like that. So there's going to be some changes there. So, but please comment and please comment on those things, and we'll get started. So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. Thank you very much for just being part of this creative process as well, and things like that. Just understanding like where I'm coming from. This is very much like a Powered by the Apocalypse style game. We really don't have like strength and dex and things like that. It's more about how you do something and why you're doing something, and how it affects the game itself, rather than you know how strong are you or how fast you are. So it's kind of cool. And then me practicing some layout. As you see, I'm flowing more towards a black and white layout. There is some color aspects in this, but I'm thinking I'm going to flow towards black and white because it's just easier to print out. Thanks there, Drew. Says, no, thank you for giving us our daily show. Yeah, thank you so much. Have another Vice Friday. Yeah, sure, they won't care until they do, and that's where the dilemma happens. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting ethical dilemma. It's just courts ain't going to care, which actually brings upon, we'll talk about this tomorrow, which actually brings a really good set of motivations, right? Courts may not care, but the player characters will, and that might be a great motivation. Death Angel says, always enjoyed a mental challenge. Thank you very much. That's what we're here for, just to get us to think outside the box sometimes, and just have higher thoughts. And I hope this game and this game setting will bring that about. As a matter of fact, I'm going to add that as a like a quote at the bottom of one of the pages, this conversation and such. So thank you guys very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Everyone have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace and tranquility.